and welcome to Call The Midwife. We are three Call The Midwife superfans who watch all of them all the time. So we thought, you know what? We're going to start watching them all together and then we can take a humorous look at each episode. Today's episode is Series 1, Episode 5.
On this episode, we meet Frank and Peggy, a couple who are going through some health struggles. Peggy is the house cleaner at Nananta's house, and Jenny takes care of Frank as he navigates some serious illness. We find out some more about them. Fred is managing a new business at the convent with a pig named Evie, and comedy ensues. And Peter asks Chummy to meet his parents for the first time, which leads to some major shenanigans. So we have to recap the episode. What do we think?
Well, it's a good episode, to be fair. It's building lots of foundations again.
Also, we meet Jimmy's back. Did Jimmy ever disappear? But Jimmy
forgot.
appears with a car.
Yes.
From the Darling Buds of May.
It's all quite a lot about Jimmy at the moment, though, isn't it? Like,
this is a big time for Jimmy.
Yeah.
Gerald's back.
There's a big storyline with Jenny, Lee, and Jimmy and Gerald, and you kind of learn a lot more about what's going on with the two of them and what her past history was with Gerald, which illuminates a lot of the reasons why she's reticent to get into a new relationship with him as well.
Who should we talk about first? Peggy and Frank.
Well, girls, let's before we get into that, I just think we should let our dear listeners know that we've taken a little bit of a hiatus because it's summer, it's hot, we needed a break. We all got sucked into the vortex that is Love Island. And after a really long break watching that 17 times a week, I think we should all just have a little cheers moment for that episode, for that series, and just say, I'm glad we watched it, but I'm glad we're back on Call The Midwife. Here's to love, meeting connections, backing yourself. Oi, oi!
Ticking all those boxes.
Call The Midwife, baby!
Speaking of Love Island, let's talk about Frank and Peggy.
Truly an island of love that not many of us will ever reach, that's for sure.
So Peggy's the cleaner, isn't she, at Nanata's house? And it's like they just kind of introduce her, like, oh, she's
we've never seen Peggy before.
Never.
Peggy's one of those people in Nanata's house that, like, conveniently she's there and then she'll go again, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, this is just part of the. I mean, we've talked about. Have we mentioned this before? The fact that we never see the lady who comes and makes all the food and like bakes all the Victoria sponges and everything.
Yes, we have.
Oh, we have talked about that. Okay.
Yeah, it really did me.
Well, we'll probably talk about it again, but it's in that category of person.
Yeah. So anyway, Frank and Peggy. So we're introduced to her cleaning the floor and blah blah blah. But then we're like, and Sister Evangelina basically delves deep into her past with people, doesn't she? She's like, oh, yeah, she grew up in a workhouse and it was awful. And her brother Frank he worked really hard to get her out, and he got out of the workhouse, but then he worked hard to buy her out or something like that. And then they have a very close relationship now. What do we all think?
Well, let's just give a little context, because you're exactly right. But we get the hint that Peggy was in the workhouse because Fred's pig walks through the hallway just after Peggy's cleaned the floors, and Jenny's like, oh, don't worry about it, it's just like dust, we just don't see it after a while. And then Frank comes and picks her up at the end of the day to go home. And she says something about scrubbing. She'll never get over scrubbing. And he's like, come on now, Peg. Like, we're not in the workhouse anymore. You've got to leave it behind. And she's like, oh, I don't know. And so he says, well, let's go have a nice walk on the pier and whatever else. And so then he collapses when they're at home together at the end of the day. That's when the doctors call. They find out Fred has pancreatic cancer. And so then that's when Jenny and Sister Julian go to her house, and Jenny peeps the bedroom that they share. And I know this, but I don't know if anybody knows this. Back in those times, people did not, even married couples would not share the same bed. They would have two twin beds, at least in the US. That was the custom at that time. I think probably in Britain too, is my guess. And so Jenny's like, wait a minute, they have one bed. What's going on here?
I think because I was a bit like, oh, they're just sleeping together. Like at first, innocently, when I watched this, I was like, oh, it's just to keep warm.
Just like platonic, right? I didn't think anything of it at first either.
No, but also I do think, obviously, in the Victorian days and all that kind of stuff. Also, you've got to bear in mind, this is London. They're in a tiny little prefab house. Also, can I just say, I'd love to see that prefab house. I was loving that nod to
prefab
house. by the Call The Midwife team. But yeah, I just like it was very, very common. My mum shared a bed with her sister until she was like 18 or whatever when she moved out. Like I think there was that family, there's no other families in it who have like 9 kids in one room. Like I think it's very common. So I was like, oh, that isn't, because there's a lot of squalor and poverty there. I didn't think it was that uncommon. So I thought, oh, they've just got the 1 bedroom and they just share a bed. Like I didn't think it was anything sick, but obviously it was intimated that it really was.
Well, Jenny again, she's the sub for the audience, you know, like if she freaks out, then that hints to us like, oh wait, something's going on.
Can I just say one thing about Jenny as well? When Peggy was on the floor, like on her knees, scrubbing really hard.
I think this as well, Alex.
When Jenny was like, don't worry about that. It's just like dust. Leave it long enough and you won't stop noticing. Your worth is nothing. The work you do here is nothing. What matters to us, you do not matter. What you are literally making no difference in this house or this world. So yeah.
But yeah, because poor Peggy.
It was very minimizing. I agree with you guys, yeah.
Poor Peggy has just cleaned this huge long hallway. This pig has just trotted through and left trotter marks. And Jenny Lee, I thought she was a bit condescending.
I thought she was horrendous.
I don't have a lot of love for Jenny Lee in this episode.
No, same.
Yeah. I didn't understand why no one had a reaction to the pig entering the house. I was like, it's a disgusting pig covered in mud. And even Fred walks in like, oh, well, she got away from me again. Okay,
also,
well, anyways.
They've like literally got sterilizers and stuff in there. Like they need an autoclave and all this stuff. Like they would be more freaked by a pig being there, guaranteed.
Yeah. Also, if you've already just done all that work, I don't care who you are, whether you're a cleaner or like it's your own house or whatever. Like if someone comes in and makes a mess after, I would lose it. I would be like, I didn't clean this all like myself to have you now just ruin it. Like 1 second later would be.
It's okay because Jenny Lee's standing over you going, oh, doesn't matter. You don't matter.
Well, it's all very well and good for her to be like, oh, it's just dust. Who cares? It's like, well, are you cleaning anything ever? No, she's not.
But the nuns' acceptance of incest just because they were in the workhouse.
I disapproved of that as well, Bex. I'm not going to lie.
Well, okay, I agree, but let's just give some context here again. So Jenny goes to Sister Julie and is like, "What's up? This is totally weird. I don't get it." Sister Julian's like, "Oh well, you know what? Like, oh, it is what it is," kind of a thing. Again, back weird. To Love Island.
She's a nun.
And then they go out to the back garden, all the girls, and Trixie's like, "Oh, tell me tell us the hot goss, whatever." So Jenny says everything. Meanwhile, Sister Evangelina. Wait, is it Sister Evangeline or Evangelina?
Evangelina.
Okay, Sister Evangelina is like, I don't know, whatever she's doing, sitting in the garden over at the corner, and she's overhearing them getting really mad that they're all judging her. And so she comes over, and that's when she says, like, have you guys ever been to the workhouse? You don't know what it's like. It takes all your humanity away, and Frank did all of this stuff to get her back after they were separated. And there's like, what does family even mean once you've gone through all of that, and everything. And then Cynthia
he worked hard, so he deserves to shag her.
Well, yeah, I mean, but then Cynthia's like, oh, but it was incest, and she's like, like what? That's when she's
like, family disappeared the minute they entered the workhouse.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. I think it's less a judgment on what's right or wrong, and I think it's what's interesting, because I've noticed this now a few different times, is that I feel like they're kind of taking the sides of like radical acceptance versus like societal norms, and then putting you in a place where you have to kind of figure out what you think about it and trying to show more the fullness of the humanity of the story, rather than saying, yes, it's right, yes, it's wrong. This is
I know what I think, and I disapprove.
I just think doing that with incest is a step too far.
Incest, I disapprove of incest. I've said it. No one in my family. I disapprove.
Okay, I'm not gonna be the champion of incest here, but I will say this:
too late.
Who are they hurting? Honestly,
I
don't even think it's that. Fred being acceptance of it, fine, but the two nuns being like, "Yeah, go for it, Frank." Like it's just weird. Whoa, go on, Peggy.
Encouraging it. I don't think they were encouraging it.
Wow. You didn't see the
and I will say this. I thought it was interesting at the end because, I mean, not a spoiler alert, but, Frank passes away. Wait, is Fred? Frank passes away.
Frank.
And Jenny is standing there and she's like, oh God, what's like, are you going to be okay and everything? And she said, well, wait and call the undertakers until tomorrow. I want to have one last night to kind of say goodbye. And then she says, I know everyone thinks it's weird, we're brother and sister, but she's like, we're more than that. She's like, we're more even than husband and wife or something else. And again,
both combined.
I don't know. I'm not happy they were technically biological brother and sister, but at the same time I did think like room for, I don't know.
Also, side note, another man's name, Frank, one syllable, good man. Was he a good man though? He was shagging his sister, so
I really liked about Frank, that garden. I really wanted to like talk to some, like get some top tip garden things on there. He had grapes growing for wine. He had all kind of vegetables. I was really.
He was also he was a bit rude at the fish market. Like the woman was like, "Get your fish here," and he was like, "Oh, it looks crap. That. Oh, I don't want that. Oh, it's awful." And she's like, "All right, Frank." Like,
Oh wait, actually,
on another day.
that leads us to the next thing though, because that woman who's selling the kippers, who's really, really pregnant, that's the birth story this week, because Trixie has to give birth in a whole, like, I don't know what it's called, but basically like a house full of like a
smokery, isn't it?
Yeah, with like all those like dead kipper bodies, like smoke. That was absolutely rank. Like honestly, I felt myself being more offended by that. What's about Frank and Peggy? If I had to spend the afternoon with one of those two couples, I would have gone Frank and Peggy over the Kipper Smokehouse. I'll tell you.
My mom's favorite thing in the world is kippers. It's like her favorite thing. So when like I grew up, she had kippers so much, but like you just go nose blind like that woman. Like, oh, we're both at it. It's fine.
It's like
we're incest blind.
Me and my husband don't care. Oh golly, oh man, and poor Trixie. I mean, again, this like that birth scene really took the cake as like another disgusting place they bring a life into the world. Like,
and also these people that are going to buy the kippers, and someone's just given birth in there.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not going to sterilize that floor. They're just going to throw a bucket of water over it.
Yeah. She literally says just get some boiling water and as many blankets or towels as you can, and that's it. And it's like both the baby is getting like, it's not good for the baby and mother, and it's also not good for the kipper customers.
Everyone, like Fred and his lolly, those the candy apples selling with the toffee apples selling with the. Theirs have literally got like, what's that stuff called that is on the outside of the baby?
Oh, the
Verdicts, is it?
Wait, what's on the outside of the baby or what's outside of candy apples?
Outside the baby, not candy.
I thought you were talking about toffee apples. I was like, it's toffee, Alex.
You mean like the goop that's on babies when they're
first born? Verdicts or something, isn't it? That's all over the kippers is my point. Anyway. So,
can I just tell you, health and safety for food sale and production in this era is terrible.
It's also not real.
It's not real, but I mean, you guys really need some like.
I like how you're offended by the health and safety of the food, but not by incest. Anyway, so right, let's go on to the next story. Shall we go on to the pig?
Oh, okay, yes. And here's a question.
Quite a few storylines. The pig.
Yeah. So Frank, as we know, Fred, as we know, always has like 8,000 businesses. This week, it's he wants to make bacon, so he's got this pig. But here's what I don't understand. He's talking to Chummy, and Chummy says something about what's the pig's name, and he says, "Oh, it's named Evie." And then she says, "Oh, isn't that a bit close to the bone, Fred? Like, or a bit spot on or something."
Sister Evangelina, Evie, Evangelina.
That's what it referenced.
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
Oh, did you get it, Bex?
No, I didn't. But
I did.
There is a bit where Fred says about
it's an homage.
The pig that appreciates him. And then Sister Evangelina says something like, "Oh, it's more than just the pig." So, oh my God, are they having is there something between them?
No. What she mean, he did it as like, she's like, that's a bit close to the knuckle. And he was like, "Oh, it's more of an homage." And then later on, he's like, "It's all I've got in the world." And she was like, "No, that's not all you've got in the world. We need you to, look after the fire." I know she wasn't saying that, but she was saying, you needed here in our community. So no, nothing. She's a nun, Becky. They're not allowed sexual affairs.
But also, can I just say, doesn't Fred have 2 daughters? It's not all he has in the world. He has more than a pig.
Yeah, but they don't need him because one was, if you remember, one was living in Canada and one was living in Australia, so we never saw them. And then one moved back to Birmingham later on. Spoiler. So basically to need him.
Okay, but Evie is really the vehicle for another storyline, which is Chummy gets asked to meet Peter's mother. Now, mother or parents? Because the way he said it was like mother.
I think it's just his mother.
Well, he said mother, but I'm sure they said like parents later on and stuff.
Right. So it means things are getting serious. Oh, I love Peter so much. Because then he shows up to pick her up for the dinner and she's like had this whole thing about what she's going to wear because she can't find any clothes. She has to make something. And then she finally makes this beautiful dress. And then he shows up and she's literally covered in like pig shit basically and like, you know, excrement because like she's been delivering baby piglets because the pig went into labor.
Did they die, the piglets? They were like lost little ones.
She said like 7 of them died, and then I'm assuming they got 1 living piglet at the end because she said, oh, we've had 7 sorrows. But like he literally walks in and her hair is like a mess, she's covered in all this gross stuff, and she's like, oh, I'll just dab it off and we'll still go, blah blah blah. And he's like, you look perfect. And I just thought,
and but they was also like, what can I do to help?
Tell me what I can do. And I was like, oh my, again, I mean, literally every man on earth should take a page from that book.
Again, though, it's just because he just does whatever she wants him to do.
I know, and that's exactly what all men should do, is just whatever their girlfriend or their wives.
What I really loved, though, there was a scene where he actually asked her to meet his mum, and she was giving a sex talk, condom talk to a group of women, and they were all really rough women, weren't they? And obviously she's very, very got a plum in her mouth, and she was like, hello. And obviously she's not married or anything, so they know she's a virgin and all this. So she stood at the front of the big, like the church hall thing or whatever it is, wherever they do it. And she's got this massive wooden, like, for want of a better word, dildo. And she's basically got like a condom and showing them how to use it and stuff. And she does it brilliantly. She gives them sass back and they all start listening to her and it's great. But then she's still holding it in her hand when Peter comes in. And he's like, I'd really love to, to meet man with her because she wants to meet the person I won't stop talking about. And he was like, but you can leave that at home. And it made me just lol. I just love them. I just think they're so cute together.
And I have to say about this as well, some poor unsuspecting wood turner has basically been commissioned to make that on a lathe.
To be fair, they might have got an original one from the 60s.
They probably did.
Well, no, I mean, in the 60s, people were making that.
Well, yeah, but they were getting money for it.
I know, but
probably banging them all out.
I mean, where do you think dildos come from now? I mean, people have to make them now too. Like, there's probably underpaid people in foreign countries who are, just cranking out the sex toys to this day.
Don't know why I'm laughing.
Anyway, also, can I just say on the pig thing, Jenny said shit, and I was like, ooh! You never hear swearing. I was proper like, oh, she said shit.
This was a very risque episode in a lot of ways. Yeah,
it was. Right, on to Jenny Lee and Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
I just think.
Okay. I'm gonna say something. I like Jimmy. Okay, I
love Jimmy.
I like Jimmy when he showed up. I thought he was so darn cute. That little blonde hair, like, so sweet, just a little absolute cutie pie. I was 100% for Jimmy. This is the episode where Jimmy lost me. This is the one.
Where she's crying on his shoulder and he just tries it on with her.
Well, even before that, like she's like, oh, I've had a really hard day, and he's like, well, why don't you come out and have fun with me? And then he takes him and her and Trixie and Cynthia and all of his other friends and everything out to this like friends pool or whatever like that, and they go swimming, and it's really lovely. And then while they're in the car driving there, she goes, oh yeah, it's just been really tough. Like my patients have been in the workhouse and it's really affecting them. I don't think they've been able to leave it behind. And he's like, oh, can we really just not talk about work and everything? And she's like, well, it's actually like really serious, don't you think? And he's like, well, yeah, but you end up there for a reason, and you get a roof over your head and 3 meals a day, so is it really that bad? And she's like, well,
she's also like, well, we're good people, and
we wouldn't end up there because we're not scum like your patients. And she's like, ugh, okay. And and then he tries it on the pool. She's not going for it. Then she has an asthma attack. They drive home. She's like really sleepy and everything. He's, he kind of lets her go at that point. But then
it's been you, Jenny. It's always been you. In her ear after she's had an asthma attack. Thanks, Jimmy.
And then when Frank dies, she like cycles home to Nananta's house and she's sitting there sobbing. He runs up, gives her a big hug, and I thought, oh, okay, here we go. This is like the compassionate thing or whatever. And then the second she kind of like pulls away to like try and, like sniffle or whatever, he goes, oh, I'm in love with you. And it's like, read the room. Now is not the time for this. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, but to be fair, she shuts him down completely then. So that was developing the story, I suppose. To be fair, this story always annoyed me, the Jimmy and...
But I feel like they do have chemistry. So although she keeps shutting him down, I don't think he's just... I don't know. I just feel like he's picking up on the vibe.
Well, do you know
there
what
is a vibe?
I did actually...
And she's just been a bit dramatic.
Yeah, but I was thinking, like, I wondered if maybe I'm looking in way too much into this, but the Call The Midwife writers here, I was wondering if they were trying to like reflect on their past of things that, like, when you're very young and you regret things you did and acted, but you were too scared or too worried about doing something, or you were a bit like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure, or you're worried about stuff. I wonder if they're trying to reflect that she didn't handle things properly. She did actually like him, but was too scared to act on it. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I'm being way too...
I mean, the Jimmy storyline doesn't annoy me as much as the Gerald storyline, because Gerald calls again.
He also sounds about 70. He's like, hello, Jenny. Like, it's just so old sounding, don't you think?
But Gerald is just never explained to us.
No.
I think they realised it was a damp squib, if I'm honest.
Well, I think it's meant to inject like tension or drama, but then I don't think they really end up like knowing where to go with it. So it kind of just fizzles out. It's really kind of like a non-starter. I mean, I think it's meant to be there because Jenny is supposed to then reject Jimmy, and because she had this like big passionate experience and she wants that again, and she's just not getting that with Jimmy. I mean, see, I would actually think, to your point, Alex, that kind of the opposite would be true. Instead of thinking like, I should have gone more full on, I would have think like it's a way of illustrating how like you can't push something faster than it's going to go, or like it's almost that thing of like like if you love something, let it go, and if it comes back, it's yours, and if it doesn't, it was never meant to be, or whatever. Like, I think if Jimmy had actually let her go at her own pace, he might have ended up with a better result, because again, like, spoiler, flash forward, when she sees him again, like 6 months, a year later, whatever it is, and he's kind of moved on, and he's like, oh, okay, well, like, we can have lunch if you want, but whatever, like, I'm also like doing stuff. I think then she's like, oh, wait a minute, and she has new eyes for him. But in this time, he's like just so up her butt the whole time. It's like she can't, you know what I mean? I think she's just not.
Well, I don't understand, and I don't know if this has happened yet, so this could be a spoiler, but we do see Gerald, but we still don't see his face. We just see like a hand and a telephone.
Yeah. And also, can I just say, how unsexy is the name Gerald?
There's a lot of unsexy names.
It's really bad. It's really bad. Like, literally, Bartholomew is like on par. It's just really... No.
Also, it'll never work between them because of Jimmy and Jenny. Their names are too similar.
Jimmy
we should have known.
I know. Can I just say, like, can we just take a moment for like poor Cynthia? Because I feel like, again, I mean, spoiler, she becomes a nun, but like, I feel like the first few seasons, she really wants a boyfriend, and she just is kind of like the always getting passed over kind of one. Like, remember when she says to Jenny and that, she's like, well, Jimmy really likes you and he's right here, like, why don't you just go for it? Like, what more could you want than just like somebody to like you, basically? And I really felt like that was Cynthia talking to herself. Oh, it really broke my heart, actually, because there's a lot of like wistfulness she has for like other people's romances in this.
Yeah, but also, I think she's very like wise and sage. Like, she often thinks she's very introspective, and we've said this before, and like I just think she's just very good at just thinking things through and from other people's perspectives as well.
And I think she's picked up on the Gerald situation.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, how could you not? I mean, so are we meant to say that, I mean, did we ever even figure out who Gerald is? Like, was he like a professor?
No.
No, it's just some married guy that she like had an affair with or whatever.
Well, no, she hasn't had an affair with him because she couldn't, because he was married and it was the 50s. She had restraint.
Well, not like a sexual affair, but like a romantic affair. I mean, they were like, I mean, she fell in love with him. So
yeah.
And he says like, I can't live without you, or like, I don't want to be without you, or whatever, even though like they know they can't be together. I mean, I don't know. Jenny is really tough. Like it's like what I never can tell like what she's looking for. You know what I mean? Like even in the other romances she has on the show, it's like, what do you want, girl?
That's
like,
what I mean. That's why I get frustrated with her. But that's why I was thinking maybe that's what the writers were trying to go for, because she doesn't make the best decisions, and you're watching it thinking, what are you doing? But then I wonder if that's to portray that she's scared or that she's still Gerald, or do you know what I mean? Like,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
So you're looking at it more like the fact that Jenny made a mistake rather than Jimmy made a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they both did. I think it's a mess.
Mm-hmm. Also, isn't it funny that he named his car Lady Chatterley? Yeah. Okay, now I know who Lady Chatterley is, but who is she again? I sound so stupid saying that, but like, isn't she
like the Boer War thing?
I really hope you edited that out of the last episode. It was really bad.
I totally kept it. I just thought it was funny. It made me laugh.
Okay, Lady Chatterley's lover. I just looked it up. Wait, Wikipedia. Here we go. What's the synopsis? Oh, plot. Okay, young married woman whose upper class husband is described as a handsome, well-built man, is paralyzed from the waist down because of a Great War injury. His wife, Lady Chatterley, has an affair with the gamekeeper, Oliver Mellors. Ooh. The class difference between the couple highlights a major motif of the novel. Okay. The central theme is Constance's realization that she cannot live in the mind alone.
I think we're delving too deep into Lady Chatterley.
Well, I do think it's symbolic, is all I'm going to say. And for anyone
that he's got a car, like he couldn't even afford a flat, but suddenly he's got a car. like cars are really not. No one has cars really. It's a very unusual thing to have a car, and then he's got this bloody car.
But did he say where he went to? Did he have a job or something? I totally missed that part.
He's an architect, isn't he?
Oh, okay. So he has to like drive around town and stuff like that. Well, he probably has like lots of stuff he has to carry and everything. Yeah. It's a cute car. I mean, he puts like little like pot what am I saying? Like vases of flowers and everything in it. It's really cute. He definitely
Did you have like eyelashes for your from lights as well?
Yeah, I love novelty car decor. I put reindeer ears on my car at the Christmas time. You know, the whole thing. I put like yeah, the jack-o'-lantern face on the hood when I'm driving for Halloween. You know, the whole thing.
Okay, so we are going to do the heroes and zeros. So Rebecca, your turn first.
And don't forget, I have a game after this.
Okay.
It was my hero. My zero is Gerald.
Yes.
Good. Very good.
Yeah. My hero is possibly Chummy, because when Sister Evangelina is lecturing them about the workhouse, when she announces that her grandpapa had a holiday fund for children of the workhouse, it just made me laugh loads.
It made me laugh too. It was lovely. It just showed how innocent she is and how upper class and probably destructive her family are. Anyway, sorry.
It was very like Scrooge after the night where he has visited by all the ghosts. It's very like, I will start a charity for all the children who need to go to. It was very like that vibe, I thought.
It was well funny. Jen, hero and zero.
Oh gosh. Hero and zero. Okay. I'll do a zero as like making a mess after someone's just cleaned. I'm not for Evie like walking through on a dirty floor. And no, I'm not going to say incest. I'm a champion of Frank and Peg. Okay, and then my hero is you know what? I am not going to do this very often, so I'll take the opportunity. My hero this time is the theft of Sister, help me,
Monica
Joan stealing that fabric for Chummy so she can have a nice dress to wear at Peter's dinner with his folks and everything, because you know, I'm not the hugest Sister Monica Joan fan, so she really comes in a pinch there, so I'm gonna give her the credit.
Well, I'm also going to say hero to Sister Monica Joan for this week, because she gave this quote which I thought was amazing. Dogs look up to us, cats look down on us, pigs treat us as equals. And it just made me absolutely lol. I don't even know why, but it just was lols. My 0 is going to be a massive 0 to incest. And I can't believe we've had 2 zeros before that were the incest. But there we go.
Gerald is worse than incest.
Yeah, maybe. Right, Jen, what is your game?
Okay, so I thought this up. This is not going to be a good game. I'm not going to say
great.
what it is, but I want to set the bar really, really low. But I still have not been able to detox from the months of Love Island. So I came up with a game. It's called London or Love Island. And I have little clues, and you have to tell me if the romantic couple that the couple that I'm referencing is a Call the Midwife London couple, or if they are a Love Island couple.
Love it. Let's go.
And so here we go. Okay. This couple first came together with a bang. She literally knocked him over while she was riding a bike.
Well, obviously,
London.
me and Peter, yeah.
This is not, again, and it's not a great game. It's also not a very hard game either. So just and if anyone has ever watched,
I feel like I've got to be quick though, because if you've ever done any sort of puzzle or crossword or word search with Alex, you've got to be quick.
I know she's a true maniac. It's really wild. Okay. And I've also tried, okay, now imagine like I could like the Ian Sterling voice as well. Like I tried to kind of style it in the way he would do his comments rating. She's a bombshell. He's a boxer. This couple overcame all obstacles to find love and a home together for their Ellie Belly.
Love Island, Molly May and Tommy Fury.
Very good, very good.
If you aren't into Love Island, you need to go on it. Because that is
in all fairness, Bex, you have to watch that season. It is so good. And it's not that long ago. I'm not going to reference back more than a season or two. So, okay, 100% for both of you so far. These two didn't start off with an instant attraction. It took some extensive dental surgery to get her to say yes when he asked her on a dinner date.
Trixie and the dentist, totally forgotten his name.
That blonde guy.
Yeah. He's like sandy coloured. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember that guy, Bex? I jumped way ahead, but it's.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking, series
one. Didn't he have a sports car and a daughter named Alexandra?
Yes, definitely a sports car. I don't remember the daughter named Alexandra.
I do remember.
And he was really nice. She was like, "Oh, we don't need a dentist here. Why don't you get out of here?" And then he was like, "Well, maybe." He was really nice. He kind of had to get her to warm up. She was really burnt on men at that point. Okay. These two found love when they went into the villa together, but they never came out. Strictly a bromance for these beauties.
Love Island, but who?
Luke and Luke.
There we go. I love them. I don't know
love Luke and Luke.
It's these. Yeah, they went in like kind of midway through the season, and it was the last season before pandemic. Okay.
Fun fact: they're both engaged in real life, but not to the person they were in with. No, not to each other. To different people.
If only each other, honestly.
I know.
Okay. This shy girl and talkative guy had an unusual first date. He broke up a fist fight outside a movie theater and she stood him up. Don't worry, kids. They worked it out in the end.
I love it. If this is obviously Call the Midwife, and it's Jane and what's his name?
I don't remember his name either.
Reverend Appleby Thorne.
I love Jane. She's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, and he's the guy that like never shut up, and then they're so sweet.
Reverend Appleby Thorne or something. I'm sure it was.
Yeah. No, that's it. I wasn't great with the names, but I'm sure that's what it is. Okay, last one. You guys are batting 1,000. This is wonderful. This game is going over a treat. Okay, these two had an instant attraction, and he waltzed his way into her heart before breaking it just a few weeks later.
Love it. Love Island. Curtis and Amy.
There we go.
I loved you. Love it. That was a brilliant game, Jen.
100%. Yes. Curtis and Amy were actually one of my favorite couples. Again, okay, so our listeners don't know this, but I love a basic white guy. Like that is definitely my type of guy. Hence why I really think I felt...
we have all the most embarrassing sexuality. I
know. It's yeah, I'm not proud of it, but that's why I think I really like Jimmy. Actually, I was reflecting. I was like, oh, now I know why I like Jimmy, because he's like the most basic white guy you can have. That's why I liked Andrew at the beginning of the season of Love Island, and I loved Curtis at the beginning of the season.
Also,
of Love Island.
Nick from Backstreet Boys.
I know. I mean, it's honestly a struggle I'm working constantly to overcome in my life. But listen, you do your best, okay? So that's my game. I hope everyone liked it.
Well done, Jen. That was excellent.
We'll have to do more games.
Well, if you enjoyed this, and I hope you did, because we enjoyed making it.
Oh, yes.
Please listen next week. But what you're best doing is watching series 1, episode 6 first, and then listen to our podcast. And, you know, you'll be there getting all the jokes. It'll be really good. And then we may even do another fun game at the end that's maybe not so Love Island focused. We'll try another one. But I loved it. I'm not going to lie. If you love Island, you loved it.
You know, listen, inspiration strikes and we just go where it leads. So, yeah. But we're looking forward to seeing you again soon.
The Renegades.
Yep.
Subscribe.
Like, rate, and review.
There you go. Oh, and we don't have a Patreon yet, but when we do, you can follow us on there as well.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.